The clatter of dishes and low hum of conversation filled the small family-style restaurant. It was the kind of place where people came for comfort food, laughter, and maybe a slice of pie that felt like home. At a booth near the window sat Ryan Cole, a single father in his mid-30s, sharing a meal with his 10-year-old daughter, Emma. Ryan had the quiet, steady demeanor of someone who had weathered more storms than he cared to admit. Life as a single dad wasn't easy: late-night homework sessions, scraped knees, and making sure Emma never felt the absence of her mother, but he wore his role like armor, determined and proud. As Emma twirled spaghetti around her fork, she asked, "Daddy, do you think we'll ever go to the ocean again?" Ryan smiled faintly. "Of course, sweetheart. Maybe this summer." It was in that gentle, ordinary moment when the restaurant's atmosphere shifted. A sharp, raised voice cut through the noise. Near the counter, a young woman in her 20s sat alone, nervously clutching her purse. Two men, broad-shouldered and aggressive, hovered around her booth. "Come on, just one drink with us," one of them sneered, leaning far too close. The other blocked her path, smirking. The woman shook her head, clearly frightened. "Please, leave me alone." But the men didn't back off. They laughed, their tone dripping with menace. The restaurant staff hesitated, caught between wanting to intervene and fearing escalation. Other diners averted their eyes, hoping someone else would step in. Someone did. Ryan's chair scraped against the floor as he stood. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't make a scene. He simply walked over, with Emma's wide eyes following him. "Hey," he said calmly, but firmly, addressing the two men. She said no. "That means leave her alone." The first man turned, sizing him up. "Mind your business, pal. Unless you're looking for trouble." Ryan's eyes were steady, unflinching. "You don't want to do this." The men laughed. "And what are you gonna do about it? You think you're some kind of hero?" The restaurant grew tense. Forks paused mid-air. Conversation stopped. For 15 long seconds, everything seemed frozen. Then it happened so fast no one could process it. One of the men lunged at Ryan. In a blur of movement, Ryan sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and had him pinned against the counter in less than 2 seconds. The second man charged, only to be swiftly disarmed and pushed down with a controlled precision that left no doubt this wasn't luck. This was training. The woman gasped. The diners stared in disbelief. Ryan hadn't thrown a wild punch, hadn't shown aggression. Every move was efficient, calculated, protective. Within moments, both men were on the ground, groaning, humiliated but unharmed. Emma's small voice rang out from the booth, "Daddy." Ryan released the men, straightened his jacket, and calmly said, "You're leaving now." Something in his voice, calm but commanding, left no room for argument. The attackers scrambled out the door, the bell above it jingling behind them. The room stayed silent until an older man at a nearby table whispered, almost reverently, "He moves like Navy." A murmur rippled through the restaurant. Someone finally asked, "Sir, were you in the service?" Ryan didn't boast. He didn't brag. He simply nodded once. Navy. That single word seemed to change everything. In those 15 seconds, strangers had witnessed not just a protective father, but a man who had once dedicated his life to protecting his country. The room seemed to breathe again, filled with a newfound respect. The young woman who had been harassed stood on shaky legs. Her eyes glistened. "Thank you," she whispered. "I didn't know what to do." Ryan gave her a reassuring smile. "You don't owe me thanks. You just deserve to be safe. That's all." Emma, with her innocent curiosity, chimed in, "Daddy always helps people. That's what he does." The woman crouched down to Emma's level, smiling through her tears. "You're lucky to have him." Ryan ruffled Emma's hair, his expression softening. "I'm the lucky one." The waitress brought over 2 slices of pie, on the house, setting them in front of Ryan and Emma. "For the hero," she said with a warm smile. But Ryan shook his head. "Not a hero. Just a dad doing what he had to do." As the restaurant slowly returned to normal, something had shifted. Strangers glanced at Ryan with quiet admiration. The young woman left safely, her gratitude unspoken but deeply felt. Emma looked at her father with new awe, not just as her dad, but as someone the world seemed to see differently now. That night, as Ryan tucked Emma into bed, she whispered, "Daddy, today, you were like a superhero." Ryan sat on the edge of the bed, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Sweetheart, superheroes aren't real. But kindness, courage, standing up for others, that's something anyone can do." Emma smiled sleepily. "Then I want to be like you." Ryan's heart swelled. He kissed her forehead, whispering, "That's all I could ever hope for." Closing message. Sometimes, acts of courage don't come from capes or headlines, but from ordinary people in everyday places. A single dad in a small restaurant reminded everyone that kindness, selflessness, and humanity are still very real, and sometimes, it only takes 15 seconds to prove it.